Well, we got a smaller group today so far, and I'm sure folks will be joining as we go. So we're going to talk in this week's session. This solution series is kind of career and consulting. I know many of you are in that space with us, but it's a good opportunity for us to kind of look at what the state of customer experience and how it's changing in that context in kind of the career space as well. And it reminds me a little bit. I was having a conversation more recently with someone that was saying they were they were looking for work, but they were finding it was harder to find good customer experience roles where that was actually in the title of the role. They were finding some trouble finding those kind of roles. And so we started brainstorming a little bit. What are other, job titles out there which carry some of that similarity to customer experience, but companies are maybe taking a little bit of a different approach, in that sense. So we think about customer experience, a lot of what we talked about was, AI, analytics, market research, even marketing analytics, roles like that in many cases, because I think more and more other roles are taking on customer experience responsibilities at some level. And it's becoming a little bit more broader. And so I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that, getting your thoughts and opinions about it, as well as sharing a little bit from the panel here. So quick introductions. Myself, Sean Albertson, founder of the CX on the Rocks program, Brad Smith and Dave Seaton, our partners. And we'll just kind of jump in. These are open dialogue. We'll kind of get into the conversation that you guys want to have as well. But Brad, I know you were just mentioning a few minutes ago that you're seeing kind of maybe even a resurgence of CX titles and roles and things like that. But what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, no. And hi, everybody. Brad Smith. I subscribe to both three or four different job services just to keep a pulse of what's out there. And in my this morning's feed from LinkedIn, I saw an SVP of Enterprise Customer Experience Strategy Leader for Symphony, which is a credit card company, a VP of Customer Experience for Reg Ed, which is an educational institution, a director of premier support, which is a lot of times support and CX that kind of go hand in hand, a VP of strategic customer success. And again, customer success and customer experience a lot of times go hand in hand. The CX advisory director at Medallia, a senior director of customer success at Genesis. So customer is always going to be in the title, I think, is a safe bet. And if you've earned your stripes as a customer experience leader or practitioner at a company, and it's a bona fide LinkedIn credential, I think that you are absolutely capable of entertaining an intelligent conversation for one of these other types of roles, even if it doesn't have that experience in the title.
Yeah. Dave, what are you seeing? Because I know you're working with a lot of different folks, in journey mapping and work that you're doing there. What are you kind of seeing in that space as well? I think you even had a client of yours where the CX team is no longer in existence, but you're working with another team that kind of replaced them.
That's right. Um, that particular client, it was the voice of the customer team, the team doing surveys. That was part of a reduction in force due to some financial pressure by some things that were going on within the technology company. But yeah, the biggest journey mapping projects that I've done have been with and through the marketing department. And at this particular client, the chief product officer has come to the marketing department and said, "Hey, we're doing a product summit in 2 weeks. Do you have any voice of the customer about the products that we can share as we're developing the roadmap?" And so that's both discouraging and encouraging at the same time. It's discouraging that the company, before I started working with them, was not seeing the value in the Voice of the Customer program, but also encouraging that the product leaders, who are typically, in my experience in SaaS companies, typically very inside out focused, The product leaders are coming to anyone who has voice of the customer. And fortunately, we just wrapped up the research process of the journey map, and so we were able to share rich clips and quotes from their customers about the product, and they thought that that was fantastic. Another client that I'm working with, the customer experience work is being done within the global services division. And so this is the service and support arm of this multinational manufacturing company that has gotten into journey mapping and is seeing tremendous results from getting the insight and acting on it. And so now, they're building this muscle for what we would call customer experience work to be a driver in their global services improvement of sales and support across the world. And then I am working with another client on their customer success program, another B2B software client. That's kind of where my background is, although I've branched out and worked in a dozen other industries. And I've always seen customer experience as customer success as like two ships. They're both sailing off in search of the new world, but they're using a different North Star to navigate. And rather than debating the merits of customer experience versus customer success, I think they're both viable vehicles to bring that customer insight in a way that changes the organization. So I would also, if I was searching for a job, look into the customer success side of things, which is now expanded way beyond SaaS and B2B technology, and especially any B2B company where those customer relationships are important for renewals, for expansion, for increasing the share of wallet. And I believe that customer experience leaders with that background can play very well in a customer success function. It just, requires a small vocabulary change and some shifts in mindset, but still very viable opportunities.
Yeah, I think I mean, and you used the word, insights, because I'm seeing that pop up now too. Consumer insights, customer insights, business insights. There's a lot of folks looking at that. What are you guys seeing? So open up a little bit to you guys. We got a smaller group, so probably don't need to raise your hand. But what are you guys seeing in this space of kind of this transition and roles and responsibilities? How are you seeing those manifest?
Yeah.
I work in the telecommunications space. There has been a large push towards customer experience because basically each of the large MSOs in the industry are trying to get each other's subscribers.
Yep.
So rather than, and we're kind of level set on the like the products that are being provided. So, they've decided to really look internally, and see where they can focus on improving experience. And so there are a lot of opportunities in that industry.
Yeah, I came out. I've had spent 15 years in telecommunications, from cable to wireless, and yeah, the products are pretty much the same. The tech is now pretty much the same, so it does have to be based on experience. And that is, I know when I was there, when I was working at some of these organizations and in that space, um, I did work for a while at T-Mobile, and we were winning JD Powers awards like crazy during that time, but the entire industry was, horrible. Because we were all bad. It was as bad. Unfortunately, I'm going to date myself because this was back when like text messages were 15 cents a pop, and there were kids, going like $1,000 bills from that perspective. But definitely that is a true competitive area for that space, and I think we're seeing it elsewhere. I'm even talking to some companies in healthcare, that are focused very much on patient experience, and even utilities, surprisingly, which is, kind of you kind of have your market is set, based on the pipe that you have to the certain households, et cetera, but they're still focused on it as well.
Yeah, utilities is a fascinating space to think about customer experience. I did some work with water companies a couple years ago. And having never worked in that space, you think water companies, like, I can't get mad at my water company and say, well, I'm just going to live without water. I also can't go out in my front yard and switch from one water company to another. I'm stuck. Why would they care at all about customer experience? And it turns out that because it's such a heavily regulated industry, they actually have to go to a court in front of a judge to get a rate increase approved.
Yep.
And what the judge cares about is, well, what's your customer service like? What's your customer experience like? If I'm going to approve a rate increase for these citizens in this county, you've got to show me that, you're providing good service and good experience. And the same thing with mergers and acquisitions. When, a private for-profit water company is buying up other utility companies, the regulatory boards want to make sure that they're providing a great experience. And so it was a really fascinating business case for customer experience in the utilities industry.
That definitely seems like it, in some ways doesn't make sense that would be the case, but yeah, it's very real. So yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna interject. One of the things where I see customer experience profession starting to blossom pretty dramatically is this pending marriage with generative chat, GPT, and AI, and the ability to both write insightful queries to try to get deep insights out of VOC surveys, employee surveys, as well as doing deep analytics on all the operational touch points. The ability to kind of generate almost living personas of your customer segments and have an active dialogue with them, interview them, if you will, about this topic and that topic. I've already built a number of these types of models using Google's LLM notebook, and then it generates a voice podcast. So I think the future of customer experience leaders is going to be like human and machine. And if you work in any kind of corporate environment, almost every one of my clients has mandated that you have to use Copilot. It's part of the Office suite, and you can't use these external sources, yada yada yada. And what I'm starting to see is marketing content and support instructional content come out, and it's so obvious that it's been hijacked by a Copilot, and it sounds very vanilla, very robotic. I keep telling my clients, please stop, just read it out loud. Read it out loud and hear what you're saying, and then decide if you would take action on that. So reinserting, kind of our moral compass of what is customer experience, what's our brand promise, what's our North Star, what do we stand for? Do all these things reflect that? And leveraging these AI tools in such a way that you can drive deep insights, you can validate things on the fly, but also you can hold other people's AI work accountable and make sure that it lands with the kind of impression that you want, because of course, every interaction generates a memory. And do you want to do that consciously or allow Copilot to run it for you?
I don't want
So,
to.
Brad, my question is, does Copilot use M dashes like crazy, like ChatGPT does?
A little bit, but it's like you tune the voice, and we want to be playful yet fun. And one of my clients is NetApp, and it started out with this marketing call to action that said, "Hey, data enthusiasts, this is the best news ever." And it's like, are you serious? These are dudes working in a data center. You cannot call them data enthusiasts. This isn't an Etsy store. What the hell are you doing? And this thing was like sitting on the precipice to be launched immediately. But everybody's just heads down. I got to use that AI thing. Okay, I put it in there. Oh, it came out. Yeah, it looks good to me. Ship it. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Would you hire a bunch of college interns and just throw the keys to them and say, "Hey, I'll see you in 4 months. Let me know how it works out," because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hijack the conversation, but let me share this really quickly. I was using Copilot yesterday to analyze some customer interviews, and I began to question it. And uh, and what I found is it was lying to me. Said Copilot says when I said from the and I blacked out my customer's name from the blank customer interviews earlier, I should have been clearer. The phrasing implied the themes were directly tied to your transcripts, which was misleading. In reality, those themes were informed based on common patterns in ITSM customer feedback across the industry, not from your specific data. Whoa. Whoa. I
Yeah.
uploaded 21 hours of customer interview data into Copilot and asked it for some themes, and it just pasted in some stuff off Google. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how to use these tools and making sure that you've built well-tagged data sets, and then you're running really smart queries, and before you ask it to execute the query, you have it read back to you. Now, do you understand what I'm asking? Please walk me through what you're about to do. Okay, great. And then the first iteration, okay, show me your sources. Help me understand this. Like, you know what? You cannot just toss the keys. It's not a microwave. It's not a toaster. You don't just push one button, toast pops out every time, right?
A lot of the recommendations for AI that I've seen in the industry are AI with human oversight. So same for customer service. And so just trying to get back to the core question, are you proposing that there is opportunity out there to potentially find roles that would be someone that would help with that oversight in customer service? Is that
Yes.
what you're trying to get at?
Whether it's AI in marketing, AI in customer service, just think of the entire customer life cycle, right? So market, sell, serve, renew. Any entity inside of a company that's touching a customer, if there's anything that's going outbound that's AI centric, who's going to validate that it's delivering a great experience and it's producing the kind of input that you want? And it's speaking with the right voice. And I think that customer experience people, by their very nature, and if you've worked in a customer experience role for the past 3 to 5 to 10 to 15 years, you've got a real intuitive sense of this sucks or this is really good. What's, how let's peel back the onion and try to understand this. And, Dave, your interrogation of your results is perfect, right? Let's ask the 5 whys. Why did you say this? Why did you say this? Oh, you made it up. Okay, thank you. Right? But just push down until you feel something push back up. It's a job title you're not going to see, you know, customer experience person versus, keeping AI accountable. Sorry, jumped on either, Erico.
No problem. No, I was gonna say with those roles that are showing up now about supervising AI, there is a question about what's going to happen with the entry level roles that students or recent graduates usually had. So, because the people who will supervise AI is supposed to have some kind of experience, expertise, so it would be more senior rather than junior, because they will have the criteria to correct and supervise those AI. So I'm seeing a lot of discussions of what's going to happen with those old entry-level roles and what's going to happen with those recent graduates or students that used to have those roles. Just a question or comment to the group.
Yeah, no, it's so your premise is that customer experience roles typically are more junior people, and what's going to happen to these people if the workforce is moving in a particular direction?
Yeah, kind of now that we have these AI tools that can do most of those basics that in the past, maybe some of those yes, initial roles we're doing, entry-level roles we're doing.
I kind of, I mean, you're exactly right, Ariel. That they talk a lot about, white collar, especially entry level, is in trouble. AI is going to replace white collar entry level. I don't know that it's going to replace it as much as it's going to change it. Because I think what Brad, maybe one of the things you're talking about, and James or Tamara, I know you guys are kind of in the employee space as well, is just to talk about the people space, that the next iteration of entry level is going to be potentially like Angela, like you said, the people that are looking at the automation and at least giving it the sniff test. I don't know that they'll have, that the supervisors of AI will be higher paid, more experienced people, because those folks are more expensive. There's always going to be a level of, because again, if you think about this drive for cost reduction and efficiency is taking us down this path to say we're going to use AI. Well, there's nothing different in that push for cost efficiency or et cetera, than saying, and I want to use lower paid people to supervise that and, be at least a voice of reason to do that. But yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a weird environment.
Yeah, because I agree with you that those more senior people are more expensive, but those people have the expertise and the criteria that maybe an entry level don't have. So I have no doubt that the new generation of entry level will know much more than we know about AI and the different uses of these tools. But do they have the experience and the expertise and the criteria that a more senior person would have to validate the results of those AI?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a guidance and onboarding question, right? If you don't have a service standard, and if you don't know what your brand promises are for the company, and if you don't have a sense of what your service blueprint looks like and how you expect things to flow and what's on track and what's off track, yeah, it's wildly open to subjective, governance by somebody more experienced. But if you have those things tight and locked down, I think you could quickly onboard a more junior team to do it. But they also have to know how to use these AI tools correctly. I use 3 tools all the time. I use Copilot, Google LLM Notebook. I use Gemini, and I also use ChatGPT. So I guess I'm using 4. And I know by touching these tools almost on a daily basis, their quirks, their personalities, where they have blind spots, where they're not so good. I used to write code to launch space shuttles way, way, way back in the day. So I'm very logical in the way I build a query, the way I interrogate it and validate it and make sure it's producing good stuff. I always probe the sources that it's showing me and making sure that it's relevant to the topic of the discussion. That kind of due diligence isn't a thing right now. It's more of a unicorn. And to have that kind of strong analytical curiosity, right? Analytical thinking tied to creative thinking, tied to a sense of, I know what the experience should be. I know what we're trying to achieve. I know what the data would suggest. Like unlocking those 3 things together, I think the customer experience profession as a whole is in the driver's seat to kind of take on this whole new adventure.
It's also an element of taking what you were saying, Brad, about, if we understand where the journey stands, what is the process that we're trying to deliver, the structure that we're trying to deliver on, we also have to get creative and recognize that, where we came up in our worlds, in the work that we did as entry level, I think we just have to kind of throw away a lot of the old ideas of how we came up and just start thinking about, all right, if these are, to use the CX term, right, the jobs to be done, now it's about then redesigning the work that has to be done around it, right? So I think that whereas, maybe the traditional, front level work, right, entry level work that we used to do might be done, but other ways of working. And in fact, there might be ways that we can bring people up further faster because they're going to be doing more cross-functional work, more cross-section work, deeper process design work, and actually, it could actually be to the benefit.
I think you're right. I think the logical aspirational role to kind of grow into is becoming the CX architect of the company and ensuring that, you know, all those touch points and all those interactions, as they're steered and governed and influenced by different AI capabilities, that they're, you know, there's no discordant behavior out there. It's all in harmony. It's singing a good song, right? The orchestra is playing the song as designed.
Just looking at the time, I know we're coming up on our 30 minutes, but you know, we definitely, for those of you who can stick around, we're going into bonus time. I like to say that we're doing that like a good soccer match. Going into some bonus time here, but I think, you know, and I think we're hitting on this logic or this you know, opportunity that says, you know, especially for CXers, and I fully agree with you, Brad, in this context, that those who really are focused on the customer's experience, I think AI will continue to be a big part of that, if not the biggest part of that moving forward. And so it not only changes how business is conducted, but it changes our careers. And to a certain extent, it changes even, you know, how companies approach the employee experience, you know, of the folks that are responsible for this, because, you know, programmers are going to use AI to help speed up, you know, programming language and things of that nature. But I mean, gosh, the use of AI across analytics around the customer experience, of creating customer experience, of it being a channel that creates the experience because of chatbots and voice, you know, voice agents and things like that, you know, there's no escaping it for sure. So that is a, you know, definitely an area where anyone in, you know, who wants to be in the CX space or customer experience space, regardless of what it's called in many organizations, they need to embrace, and they need to embrace the new technology, understand it, use it, and maybe even be at the lead of prompt engineering, you know, as an entry level. You know, that's a skill set that, you know, is going to be incredibly important for all the reasons that you guys mentioned from that perspective.
I just shared an infographic that was generated from a bit of Gemini deep research I did on what's the potential look like for CX careers between 2025 and 2030. You know, after a couple iterations, I'm satisfied with the output. I double checked all the resources behind it. The white paper itself, I'm happy to share, but the infographic kind of sums it up. But at the very bottom of it, there's kind of three, you know, course of actions. If you're brand new, if you're a newcomer, here's the things you ought to focus on. If you're an experienced pro, you have the opportunity to pick up and lead this transformation. And if you're a job seeker, here's the things you got to get up to speed on quickly. So I think AI is going to be a part of nearly everyone's job moving forward. But I think the CX teams are in a very unique position to use it in magical ways to produce great outcomes.
And I think similarly, and maybe even more importantly, would be from on the consulting side. You know, if you're, you know, those of us that are consultants as well, you know, it's a must that we stay, you know, ahead of that, because the tools are changing every day, and AI is driving a big chunk of that for sure.
I know we've got a couple courses on the website, Sean, to help consultants get up and running. I don't know if we want to call out any of those programs or not, but
yeah, absolutely. And one of them even I know is Dave, is yours. So you want to just talk a little bit about some of the work you're doing with Chicken Dinner?
Sure. Yeah. Chicken Dinner Club is a community of independent consultants focused on improving our sales and marketing skills. We actually have a event tomorrow morning at 9 Mountain Time called an outreach party. And we all have that list of people we need to reach out to, touch base, follow up, but we don't know what to say, and so we don't do it. So tomorrow we're going to learn exactly what to say. We're going to look at 3 scenarios either a new LinkedIn connection you've never talked to before. What do you say to that person to engage them in a conversation? The second would be a stale connection, somebody in your network that maybe you haven't talked to in a couple of years, maybe have never talked about your consulting work. And the third is someone you've talked to in the last 3 to 6 months. Maybe you had an intro call, maybe they're a past client where the project ended, maybe you met them at a networking event, and it's been on your list to follow up, but you just haven't because you're not sure what to say. So we'll spend the first 15 minutes looking at what to say in each of those situations. We'll spend the next 45 minutes going out and doing that work, sending the messages, sending the emails, making the phone calls, whatever we need to do. Then we'll come back for the last 15 minutes and we'll keep score. You get 1 point for a response. You get 2 points for a no, because a no is a clear next step, and that allows you to close the books and move on. And then you get 5 points for a booked meeting. There's no prizes or anything like that. It's a friendly competition. But I found that accountability and doing this work together as a group is so critical to actually getting it done and doing the hard steps that are going to build our business. So if anybody wants to join us, just send me an email after this meeting. I'll hook you up with a day pass. You can come for free, check it out, get some messaging done, and see what Chicken Dinner Club is all about.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dave. And just to kind of show everybody a little bit here. So, one of the things we're starting to publicize a little bit more are some programs within the collective. So if you go to the CXotherRocks.com/programs, it's right up here at the top, and you can see that there are a lot of different programs here that are available to members, opportunities to learn. It could be based on workshops. It can be accelerators, or even other kind of programs that go with that, masterminds, things of that, strategy sessions, etc. So the one from Valerie, for instance, mastering your CX consultancy, right here on the programs page. Always something to take a look at. So whenever you look forward to, and Chicken Dinner right here with Dave at the bottom. So we see a lot of opportunities here as we start to expand our program beyond just sessions into events and programs and things of that nature. So we welcome everyone to kind of keep tabs on what's on the programs, and join us for one of these other upcoming events as well. It's an opportunity to go deeper. These sessions are very high level, and we tend to talk a lot, at strategy. But if you really want to, roll up your sleeves and dig in, we've got programs available to you, and we'll always be adding and rotating new programs through this as well. So again, CXOnTheRocks.com/programs. We look forward to you guys joining us on one of those upcoming as well. So any closing thoughts? Anybody have anything they'd want to share as we kind of close up for today?
I guess my last thought on this whole AI revolution is, if you look at every technological revolution, really from the sewing machine to the telephone, to the personal computer, to the mobile phone, to the internet, they've all created more jobs than they've eliminated. And so the jobs will change, and how we do work is going to change, but it's also going to create a lot of opportunity for people who train the models, maintain the models, do the data centers, check the models, do the prompt engineering. I don't know all the new opportunities that will be created, but I know that we have yet to see the technical revolution where we all work 10 hours a week and sit around and don't have anything to do because computers do it all for us. They always create more work.
Yes. Now, I do hope that the one part of this future is that we all can, work 4 days a week and still be as effective as a normal 5 days a week. But I have a feeling most companies are going to, just focus on, oh, now I want you to just have a, 25% increase in your productivity by coming in 5 days a week, even with those efficiencies. So, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting evolution. And Brad, as you said, the next 5 years is going to be telltale. But I as well agree with you, Dave. It won't change as much as we might like to think it's going to change, or the protagonists out there like to say it's going to change. I think there'll be more similarity as we go. It's just going to be different, for sure.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us this week. Great conversation. Look forward to joining us next week. Is our normal monthly meeting, where we're really gonna dive in across the gamut of our programs and our opportunities to learn and grow together, and have some breakout rooms as well. So that's going to be next Wednesday afternoon. Again, go to our website, CXOnTheRocks.com, look at future events, and they'll be listed right there for you, that you can always see what's coming up. So thank you, everybody. Take care.